Howdy YouTube, this is Charles.
And this is John.
And Princess Frostbite. And we're coming to you from our tiny cabin project out in the middle of the Ozarks. Showcasing for you today
our new tiny cabin couch.
Yeah, this is pretty nice because we've had a situation where a lot of friends and family don't want to come all the way out here and sleep in a tent. And this is a micro tiny cabin, so outside of the sleep loft, there were very few places for guests to sleep. So we decided to get this tiny house couch that folds out into a bed. So it's kind of like a futon, but it's more of like one of those click-clack style sofas.
Click-clack. I think that's the technical term for it.
Yeah. So a lot of you have been asking what's been going on. Like, where have you guys been? Oh my god. Well, here's the short of it.
We're back. Don't worry. We're coming back.
Sit. Good girl. She's mad because she wants to get on the tiny couch. And we don't want frosty bits everywhere because with the crazy weather we've been having, she's been shedding so bad. And it's been snowing frosty bits everywhere. Like our other house, our big house is like covered in frosty fur. Hey, get out of there.
If you guys are thinking about getting a husky, they're amazing animals. They're stupid as hell in a good way. But the one thing I will warn you about is you're going to have to invest a lot of money into Shed-X treatments because they are the worst breed when it comes to hair on everything.
Oh my god! And even if you have a short-haired, version of the husky, which I guess the shorter-haired ones were bred more for racing, this shedding is still just off the chain. So it's a total nightmare. But anyway, I digress. So, where have you guys been? Well, here's the story. This is what had happened. A lot of you had been asking, where have you guys been? Well, it started probably, if you go back a couple videos, you'll see us talking about the problems that I had with the CRV. That ended up being a total nightmare. The initial car repairs started in July, and I had to have a $1,500 job done on the CRV. The compressor went out and locked up, and with the type of car it is, if the compressor's not running, the whole car can't run without that piece working. So I had to replace the entire compressor and all the components, and it was like $1,500.
Yeah.
So then 2 weeks goes by, and it starts making the same kind of bearing noise. And the car shop argued and argued and argued. So, oh, it's fine, fine, fine. And they're like, oh, this needs to be replaced. Oh, you need a new belt tensioner. That needs to be replaced. Oh, well, the fan on your radiator is going out, and that needs to be replaced. So they're nickel and diming me, right? And then finally they break down and they're like, okay, yeah, the compressor must be faulty. So they redid the job for a second time, after I'd had all these additional car repairs done. So now we're pushing into August.
Months. So, and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you know, and neither one of us, like we've said in the past, make a lot of money. So, anyway, so that continued to go on, and finally they redid the job, and then we got into it with them about them nickel and diming us and lying to us. We caught him in several lies, and then finally we filed a complaint with the BBB, and when they found out that we filed a complaint with the BBB, they actually kicked us off of their property. They told us to leave. Yep. Couldn't service us anymore.
Yeah, irregardless of their supposed lifetime warranty. Anyway. So, eventually, though, that happened. And then finally got that working, and then there was a situation with your car too. Like you needed something.
Yeah, actually, so if you guys don't know yet, in this whole time I got a new car. Yay! The truck's gone. He misses it. I don't. Shh. He didn't hear that.
But I got a new car also. It's a newer version of his car, the Honda CR-V. It's amazing. I love it. But a couple months after I bought the car, my compressor started to go out as well. I got really lucky because I actually contacted the guys that run the dealership that I bought the car from, and he hooked me up with his mechanic, and they did what the other place charged $1,500 for. He charged me $100 and just sat there and shot shit with me while he was repairing the car, and it took like 2 hours.
Yeah, so then his car had his repair, and granted it wasn't thousands, but it was still a couple extra hundred that we we don't have.
Right.
So then we think we're done with the car repairs. Things are going good, and then we have birthdays and anniversaries and all that stuff. And then I get hurt at work. Now, how did you get hurt at work? Blah, blah, blah. Well, due to HIPAA laws, there's only so much I can tell you guys. But what I can tell you is I work with individuals diagnosed with autism. So I primarily work with children, but the company I work for has individuals all the way up into their late teens. I don't necessarily typically work with the older kids, but I digress. So I'm leaving work one day, and I'm walking down the hall, and a kid comes running at me who is literally 2 to 3 times my size and slams me into the wall. And I was kind of at a twist when I heard him holler from behind. And when I hit the wall, it was full force, like from a run. And I ended up having to go to urgent care because of the situation 10 times.
Yeah, pretty much, not including physical therapy.
Yeah, and then I also had to go to physical therapy. Had to do that and mind you guys, I'm no Wiener Schnitzel, okay? I can handle some serious pain. But basically what had happened is I had a severe contusion to my solar plex area on my ribs. I had strained muscle in my shoulder, 2 strained muscles in my back, and a bruised lung. So it basically took 2 months of getting recuperated from that and all these doctor visits, because anytime I needed to go to a doctor, it was like on a Friday. So, it really put a damper in coming out to the tiny cabin. And then plus, you take into consideration the type of things that we do out at the tiny cabin, out here at the tiny house, is, we do fishing and stuff in the woods with the trees and the deer. And, trying to pull a 70-pound bow with a bruised lung and messed up ribs that aren't gliding properly is like next to impossible. So we only made it out here once, and we didn't even film because and we made it out in November around Thanksgiving, and we didn't even bother to film because it was more of just to try to get out of the house and relax and decompress and not worry because everything had been so crazy. And then, excuse me, finally started getting better with the ribs after all these doctor visits and whatnot. And then I get the flu. And I don't just get the flu. I get violently ill. Like, for a week and a half to 2 weeks. And I probably haven't thrown up since 2010. And I was so sick, I threw up like 20 times in one day, like in one session, like in one vomit session. It was like 20 times. Like,
that's not what it sounds like.
Oh, man.
By the way, imagine the worst, deathly sound you can imagine.
It was horrible.
I ran downstairs and turned on news and watched the news.
So
hashtag not fake news.
Right. And you see, he's got a phobia of throwing up, so, here I am. I'm like, well, at least just come up every now and then and make sure I'm not, dead on the floor.
I love you and I'm listening, I just can't be right there. Sorry.
So, anyway, takes me a while to get over that. And then we have the holidays, so we had Christmas and all that jazz and getting the family over, and we do Christmas Eve at our house, and then we do Christmas Day at the parents' house. So we just got done doing all that. So we decided the weekend of the New Year, we're going down to the tiny house. I'm going to hang out in some trees for a couple hours, see if I can find some more Bambi burgers to take home, and we'll go from there. It was a good Christmas. One of the cool things that we recently got, John got me for the cabin, is the classic Red Ryder BB gun with a compass in the stock and a thing that tells time. Well, actually, this one doesn't have the compass in the stock or the thing that tells time. It is pretty cool. Wood construction. It's metal. The strangest thing, though, the cocking lever is plastic. Now, I have found that sometimes they make them out of metal. Sometimes they make them out of plastic. It just depends on what they have on hand that day. Go figure. But, with that being said, I can order online on eBay. They have metal cocking levers that will fit this, so I can take this plastic one off and actually put a metal one on there, so at least then it's like, I don't know, I just, with the plastic, you know, I'm afraid it's gonna bust. And this, we bought this, I told him I wanted this one for the nostalgia, and specifically, too, is because I just thought it would look so cool at the cabin up there. Just like that.
Which it does.
And I think that looks pretty cool. Here, let's take a close.
Awesome.
Let's take a closer look at that. Is that not just awesomeness? Awesomeness of super awesomeness. We'll take another look at closer look at our couch here. That's our super fabulous tiny couch. I better check on
I was just about to do
the
that.
fire. Yep, she's burning. Could use some more though. There we go. Oh yeah. So in case you guys are wondering, using coal in the Dickinson, it is probably, I'm going to venture to say inside the cabin right now, it's probably, I'm going to say 60 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say 60, and then once we turn on the electric fireplace, closer to 65 or 70. But
yeah, we have an electric fireplace that we use too. That kind of heats up the floor area because the heat comes out at the bottom. And it's a nice little balance because the Dickinson, when it's like in the negatives, or you know, like 10 degrees, which it's probably going to get down to 19 degrees Fahrenheit this evening, the Dickinson just doesn't cut it, because we don't have any insulation yet up on the roof, which is something that we're going to do. But yeah, the Dickinson just doesn't cut it when it's that cold without insulation. So we're going to put insulation up in the roof, and go ahead and put beadboard up there, and I'm thinking that once that's insulated and then we get the underneath of the cabin insulated, the Dickinson probably may be enough to heat this little place. I will say this much, pellets burn too hot for the Dickinson. You'll overheat the stove, and
scary.
it's really scary. We had the whole thing glowing orange. Excuse me. And then regular wood burns about every 20 minutes. You have to feed it, so wood works all right. Cut Presto logs work really good, but then again, they burn so hot you have to be really careful that you don't overheat the stove. So far, the thing that we've found that works the absolute best in the little Dickinson stove is
coal.
Charcoal. Yep. We're going to try some acorn charcoal probably coming up here in a little bit. You know, that most people would design, or the type of coal that would be designed for a furnace.
I wouldn't use any like pre-lightable instant light with lighter fluid already in it. Don't get like barbecue charcoal. Get charcoal that's actually meant to be put in a stove. And yeah, for any of you guys commenting, you're going to have to take some precautions. You want to make sure you have a little bit of ventilation wherever you're at. So whether that is a vent at the top of the cabin that's open to the outside or cracking a window. And you also want to do something smart, like have a carbon monoxide detector and a smoke detector in the area that you're heating. Because you can't smell carbon monoxide, you can't taste it. Sometimes you just kind of fall asleep and you don't wake up. So
yeah, you don't want to mess around with it. Whether you're using a buddy heater, an electric heater, a charcoal heater, a catalytic converter heater, propane, diesel fuel, white gas, whatever you're using to stay warm this winter, just be safe about it. We typically wouldn't even try charcoal in this thing if it wasn't listed as a manufacturer recommended fuel source for this particular stove.
Which it is.
It is. It is recommended as a fuel source. But if you guys want to see more about the Dickinson stove, check out our video. What is that video called? I think it's called the Dickinson stove. I think it's called.
It's either the Dickinson 1, Dickinson 2, Dickinson 3.
Those were the install. The install videos were kind of comical because we were figuring it out as we go along, and it's basically, it just, you know, you can watch those videos if you want a good, like, comedic laugh of watching some hacks try to install a wood stove. It's basically a mailbox that hangs on the wall that you burn coal in. That's just basically what the Dickinson is. You could make one of these really easily if you're even somewhat inclined and can weld. It's basically the construction of like an ammo can stove,
yeah,
with a shroud around it. In fact, the ammo can might be better steel. No offense, Dickinson. If we had to buy it again, would I? Nope. No. Sure wouldn't.
I'd consider buying the Dickinson propane model before I would consider buying this, just because even though coal seems to burn like
for hours
really hot and good, it's still not long enough to get a solid night's sleep. And it takes so long to finally get the cabin warmed. Now, yeah. I will say this, our cabin is not properly insulated.
Yet.
But I think that it should... I think if we put a Volzang in here, or some kind of cast iron stove, it would do a better job.
Probably, but I think it's still too big for the size of a space.
Yeah.
One thing that, when we bought the Dickinson, you know, the tiny house movement was really just starting to, like, start really catching steam. And, like, there weren't as many micro stoves out as there are today. When we bought that stove, because we might have bought the stove before we actually even had the cabin, because it was something, you know, we started picking things up early and installing them as we moved along. So you know, the Cubic Mini had just recently came out, and there wasn't any reviews or anybody knew anything about it yet. And when we go to replace the Dickinson, if we decide to replace it, we're either going to go all electric with our heat, or we're going to put in a Cubic Mini. Because I think a traditional full-size stove is just too big for this. Our inside downstairs floor plan right now is 8 foot by 12.
Do the math.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's micro tiny. And then if you count the loft goes out over the porch a little bit. So I'm going to say that the loft is 8 foot by 6 feet, maybe. So we've got that little additional space, but it's only 3.5 feet tall up there.
I think I did the math previously, and counting the measurements of the loft plus the downstairs, it's like right at 119 or 120 square feet total.
Yeah, that's with the loft. And technically our loft is, you know, like I said, I can sit up in it.
I can't.
He can't, because, you know, he's like 7 foot tall. So, yeah, so that's pretty much what's been up, guys. New tiny house couch, some new tchotchke for the cabin, and, you know, for some planking fun and stuff, and nostalgia, and,
not to get too spiritual with you guys, but this one actually pointed this out to me. I wasn't aware of it at the time. We just recently had a full moon over the winter solstice, Christmas, Yule, whatever you want to call it, and it was one of the longest full moons that we had in a while. And what they say about this full moon is it serves to rid us of any bad luck or bad things that had happened in the previous year, and make for a very prosperous and blessed 2019. The reason I'm saying that to you guys is because even though the past few months we've had a lot of stuff going on, we haven't been able to be on YouTube as much, we're not going anywhere. We're coming back. 2019 is going to be the year. We're going to bring a lot of new videos and a lot of new ventures to you guys. So stay tuned.
So we're going to catch you guys in the morning. So until then, this is Charles.
This is John.
And Princess Frostbite is over here waiting to get back up on the couch. So catch you later.